When you say love is crazy, it's really not that far off. What is crazy? Crazy is a delusion or deception within ourselves which is not really there. Crazy would be someone who is perceiving, or perception is not seeing the world for what it really is. By that definition, not only is love crazy because it is not there, it is only perception and delusion within ourselves that is only within ourselves, but rather all feelings are in fact a delusion or perception that is only felt within ourselves. Give you an example. I like this hat. It's my hat. But that liking does not exist. It's only a perception within myself. And that perception is an altered view that does not really exist. It is, so by the definition of crazy, we could go to the point and say that all feelings are in fact delusional and crazy, because feelings are not there. They are perception your body makes to form connections into things that are not actually, because the connection is only within ourselves. So, yes, love is delusional and crazy. I mean, all love is a perception that two people feel, a delusion, a deception that alters how people see a person. So, love is basically not an actual thing. It is not something that is there. We could say that there is a result of love, which could be stated as kissing, marriage, children, sex. It could be anything, and that is the result of love. But it's not actually love. Love itself is the perception or delusional feeling within ourselves that makes us see just a thing, a person, and therefore change our delusional perception to make it have a meaning. So that meaning is in fact crazy and delusional, because that meaning is not anywhere except for inside ourselves. And that's what makes love so dangerous and difficult, is because it is not an actual thing. There is never 100% even flats between two people's love. I mean, one person could love someone and love their person, I love them for everything. Another person might just love them because they might be a good kisser and might have a lot of money or something. So, not only that, but since love is a deception and a feeling, it can change. And one person could think that the other person loves them when they do not. And even two people who love each other, their definitions of love are separate, because it is only within ourselves that we feel love. And someone else's version of love, what we think they're feeling love, could be totally opposite of ours, and therefore our love that we feel between each other does not even really exist the way we would like to wish, because it is basically a dream. So, yes, love is delusional, and I guess you could say all feelings are delusional. And it's quite ironic that we as humans generally call people who are in fact most grounded and realistic and closest to reality and furthest from delusion, people generally call them crazy. For instance, someone feels no feelings, that is closest to reality, because feelings is a perception and a delusion, because there's no feelings outside of yourself. It's just a perception altercation of what you're actually seeing and forming a bond with it, even though there's no reason for it, because that in itself is delusional. So, not only that, but we as humans see people who do not believe in an invisible man in the sky called God as delusional. It's quite funny how people think that people who don't believe in God are crazy and delusional. You know, that in itself is also delusional. I mean, we as human beings, and I guess all living things, are quite delusional, because, our lives are entirely based within ourselves. I mean, our view of the world is a perception, our feelings are a perception, our attachments are a perception. So by that definition, our life is only within ourselves, because the life that I live is a perception my brain and my feelings and my central nervous system puts together to form this life. And that is my real life. That's what I'm constantly seeing, and that's what everyone is seeing. And that is a perception, and that's why people can have such different opinions when they're viewing the same thing and different interpretations, because there's only a perception of it. And it is quite strange that we do tend to generally call people crazy who are the least delusional. I mean, we as a human race are generally inborn for psychosis and delusional perceptions beyond the animal kingdom, because, let me ask you a question, do animals believe in an invisible man called God? No. Not only that, but for thousands upon thousands of years, humans would actually sacrifice to these invisible people. And that in itself is extremely delusional. Do you see animals going around believing in an invisible person and then killing other animals just to please an invisible person? And our basis as humans is basically a totally delusional and psychotic world. And some people who are more psychotic, and I will say they are the Christian fundamentalists and the Zionists and extremist Muslims, who generally call everyone else that's not that way a psycho, but in fact they are extremely delusional. And I think that we as a human race are set up for delusion, and we are so complex and intelligent that we cannot face the world. Animals just live, and they don't really understand that there's a death. They don't really understand that there's more, or philosophy for the most part. So we as humans are so complex and all-knowing that we generally have a delusional complex of more than any animal to cover that up in order to give meaning to something that animals do not need. I mean, we always want to have a meaning behind everything. We can't just live. There has to be a meaning for this. There has to be meaning for life and death. And we are constantly, as a human race, coming up with delusions for that. Like, we need to live for an invisible man and the afterlife at that, which is extremely delusional. And we as humans live our whole lives that we see through our eyes as a delusion and a perception, which is in fact a deception and psychotic by the terms of which you want to call delusional. Because, as I stated, our life is only within ourselves, and everything I see is my brain's perception of it, and which is delusional. And this is where the video will end. Love is nothing more than a chemical reaction to create a bond in order for two people of the same species to get together and to procreate, in order to create children, to keep the bond of the two together in order to raise children, so we can create more people who can keep on these delusional traditions and lifestyles for all eternity. And that is my definition of love.